Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
And what is up, you guys? The New York Mets are hot. Break up the Mets as they win their fourth consecutive game. They win their second straight series, and they take a 3-2 advantage in this season's Subway Series between the Mets and the Yankees as they wallop the Bronx pitching staff to the tune of 12 runs, a grand slam from Brandon Nimmo, a 2-home run day from Pete Alonso, a 3-hit 2 RBI day from Francisco Lindor as they go on to win this game by a final score of 12-6 for their fourth consecutive victory. There's a couple things that we got to talk about that I'm not super happy about, but it is hard to be negative about the Mets doing what they just did here so far in the first 2 games. So let's get into it, guys. What's up? I am Tony Metro. Welcome to the stream. If you're new, be sure to subscribe. I do daily Mets content, post-game recaps after every single Mets game. You could also follow me on all my other platforms, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. Links to all those are in the description below. And please leave this video a like. Really appreciate that. Goes a long way toward helping out the channel. So let's get to it. First and foremost, check in on the chat. Ray, that was a beatdown, Tony. Yes, sir. Yes, it was a beatdown indeed. The final score, maybe not as indicative of how this game went. The Mets obviously win by 6, but they are forced to end up using their 2 best bullpen arms in this game to get the final 6 outs, which is a little frustrating to me. We will touch on that as we go back and recap this game, but the Mets bats have looked amazing so far in these first 2 games of this series. Yesterday, they put up 7 with 3 home runs. Today, they have 3 more home runs, 2 of them coming from Pete Alonso, who has a great day. Francisco Lindor with 3 hits, like I said, including 2 doubles. And of course, it was Brandon Nimmo starting things off with the grand slam in the first inning. So the lineup has looked terrific lately. I believe they end up going 6 for 8 with runners in scoring position today. I didn't even know that was possible. I didn't know that was against the rules to hit with runners in scoring position based on how the Mets have been going so far this year in 2025 in those situations. But we will definitely go through it on. I'll give you my thoughts. Stefan, what is up, man? LGM, Orange and Blue Hearts from Amsterdam, my man, Pots and Pans. Appreciate you being here. Abso, why would Mendoza put Diaz in with a 6-run lead? Yes, thank you. I don't know either. It was one of those situations. Like, we'll get into it. I'll give you my thoughts on how it all went down. Let me just finish here with the chat. 2 Catch Yankee fans have to bring up their 27 rings from the 1960s now. Yeah, I mean, what? Half those rings came before the color barrier was broken, right? When there were like 8 teams in Major League Baseball. So anytime they want to rub that in your face, I mean, they have the Yankees 90 dynasty, yes, but come on. They're living in the past if they're still claiming those 27 rings. Ray says Nimmo Ventura, yeah, little Robin Ventura action there with another grand slam, his second in the last 4 games, the second on the homestand for Nimmo. I mean, just brings the house down with that grand slam in the first inning. The house comes collapsing on Carlos Rodon, who the Mets have not had a good season against left-handed pitching. In fact, I think it was the lowest OPS against left-handers in all of baseball this year. So Rodon, he's having a pretty decent season so far this year. They end up tagging him for 7 runs in this game. So Yankee fans are in absolute distress, while they also just put Clark Schmidt on the injured list. He is expected to need Tommy John surgery, so he in all likelihood is done for the season as well. But real quick, Ray, with Big Pete, yes sir. Stefan saying using Diaz, yeah, that was crazy. Didn't like that we had to use Diaz or even Stanek in that situation. But let's be honest, who else is in that bullpen right now that we couldn't trust? There's really nobody. They end up going to Chris Davinsky and Richard Lovelady in this game. Lovelady gives up a run. Davinsky's able to get the final out of that inning after giving up a base hit. So it's like we already used 2 guys we don't trust at all all out of the bullpen. Who else is left? Austin Warren, who we saw warming up in this game right after the Mets added another run in the bottom of the 8th inning. He does not end up having enough time to warm up because of Pete Alonso grounding into that double play to end the bottom of the 8th, and that is why they did end up using Diaz. So that is probably the one sour note that I have from this game. Carlos Mendoza's bullpen management was really poor today. I mean, I know he's trying to win this game. I respect that, but I think he overmanaged that in a couple different points, and I think that having to use Diaz and now potentially not have him available tomorrow is a little ridiculous. Gary Cohen actually said something just now as they were going to the 9th inning. He said, you know, it was actually, it was Eric Pop, or whatever the guy's name is that the Mets just signed, Pop, that was getting warmed up in for the 9th inning. And he does not end up coming in because he probably only had 2 warm-up pitches in the bullpen. And Gary Cohen said, you don't want to risk bringing in Pop and him getting injured, so they'll bring on Diaz for the 3rd time in 4 days. Okay, so we don't want to risk getting the guy that we just signed off the street injured, but we will bring in Edwin Diaz for the 3rd time in 4 days. Our $40 million closer or whatever he is, it's okay to do that, but we can't risk getting Eric Pop, who was just on the streets today before the Mets signed him. We don't want to get him hurt. Like, come on. That was a little ridiculous. That is the only little negative note that I have about this game. I actually do have one more, but we'll get into that later. Let me get back to the chat. Let's see. Ray says, Stefan, no one ready in the bullpen. Exactly like I was saying. Red Bear Fox, so you're not listening to the game. They spoke about the Diaz thing. Explosive diarrhea, blue and orange hearts. I love it. Let's go, baby. Mojo Rising from Joe himself. I was a little too young for the Mojo Rising song of 1999. I grew up with Bachman Turner Overdrive taking care of business as the Mets victory song, but I think they have it perfect with it being New York Groove by Ace Frehley and the rest of Kiss. That is a perfect song for the Mets victory song. So I am feeling like we're back in the New York Groove as the Mets get their 4th consecutive win. They win their 2nd consecutive series. Guys, how are you feeling? Sound off in the chat. Lane is in here. What's up? Let's go Mets, he says. Ray says, sup explosive. I love that you guys talk to each other in the chat, but then sometimes I say what you guys are saying to each other and it messes me. It's not, continue talking, please. I'm not saying it's bad, but let's see. They were ghost forking Senga, Stefan says. So Senga did just pitch in a rehab assignment. It did not go well, according to Gary Cohen. I think he ended up giving up something like 6 runs in 3 2/3 innings. Look, I am not concerned about Kodai Senga not performing well in a rehab start. He's literally just trying to make sure that his hamstring and his lower body is okay and he's ready to throw at a major league level again. So I am not worried about Senga and his rehab outing that he just had earlier this afternoon whatsoever. Let's see. Edward Christian Aquan says, I hope this game heats up Lindor. Great game. Plus Alonso's inching toward Mets history. Kind of weird why they used Diaz today, but a win is a win, and we need a W since last month. Yes. So very weird that we had to use Diaz. We will talk about it as I go through the game here in a second. Pete Alonso, though, climbing closer and closer to the Mets all-time home run record. I believe that was 254. So that puts him 8 away from Darryl Strawberry. It might have been 245 after his 2nd home run of the game, which would make him 7 away from passing Darryl Strawberry on the all-time home run list. But man, what a freaking game from this Mets offense. I mean, that was just sick to see with with Nimmo coming out with the grand slam in the 1st inning, just breaking the back of Yankee fans who just had a brutal loss yesterday, who just lost 4 consecutive games, getting swept and knocked out of 1st place up in Toronto. I mean, you couldn't have asked for a better start for the Mets and a worse start for the Yankees. So I love it. Let's see. John Talento, MVP. Absolutely, sir. He is looking good. Hold on, this is really not cooperating today. If I am choppy on the stream, guys, let me know because I want to try to correct that. We changed some settings here thinking that would fix things, but it does not appear to be the case for whatever reason, at least on my end. So if it is really choppy, let me know so that I can try and fix this all. But yeah, Senga did get rocked today, as you said, explosive diarrhea. Lane says, where did Edwin Diaz come in? Diaz came in the 9th inning to end that one, but Diaz had to get up. He was basically warm at that point in case the bases did get loaded. It was a 3-2 count to Volpe, and then he ends up coming in to start the 9th inning. So I didn't like it. Obviously, none of us do. I mean, the fact we had to use our closer for the 3rd time in 4 days in a 6-run game is definitely annoying, but a win is a win. You get 2 out of the first 2 of this series. You win the series against the Yankees, and now you're looking toward a sweep tomorrow, and you just got to cross your fingers and hope that if the Mets are in a position to win tomorrow, that they are not in a close game where they would need Diaz or Stanek, because I don't think that either of them are going to be available to pitch tomorrow. But Sandman Games, Diarrhea, cha-cha-cha. I love that one. Let's see, Red Bear Fox then to have another reliever warm up. So Diaz, yeah, and there's 2 pitching mounds in the bullpen. He could have easily also had Austin Warren or Pop getting warmed alongside Edwin Diaz. You have Diaz getting lightly ready in case he is needed for that emergency. And then if not, you have Pop or Warren ready to hopefully close out the 9th in what was a 5-run game, then became a 6-run game after Juan Soto's RBI double off the wall. So I don't understand it. I don't know why there weren't 2 people warming up, another one alongside Diaz, but that is just how it went. And unfortunately, that does kind of become one of the storylines of this game and what was otherwise a pretty solid game from the Mets up and down the lineup. And I know a lot of people probably don't want to talk about it or recognize it, but I thought Frankie Montas had a much better outing than his line will end up showing. So let's get into it. Let me go over to the game recap here. I'm going to share my screen with you guys. Hopefully this is going to look a little better because it is super laggy on my end here. So I hope that it looks better for you guys than it does for me right now. But sound off in the chat, guys. How you feeling? 4 straight dubs for the Mets. They take the first 2 games of this Subway Series this weekend, and they improve to 14 games over 500. Dare I say it? Dare I say it? Are the Mets back? The Mets might be back, baby. The Mets might be back, and I am loving every second of it. I don't know. I'm not ready to say it yet, but maybe we might be getting close. So, guys, as you know, Starling Marte starting this game off with a double, aided, of course, by the poorest defense in left field by Jason Dominguez. Guy can't field anything for his life. And then after a bunt from Juan Soto to move 2 runners into scoring position, a walk to Pete Alonso would bring Brandon Nimmo to the plate, and he hits the grand slam to give the Mets an early 4-0 lead. The Yankees did get one back in the second inning. It was a solo shot for them. Jazz Chisholm, I believe, off of Frankie Montas. The Mets came right back in the bottom of the second. RBI double from Starling Marte out to left field, but the Yankees, again, another solo shot off of Montes. That one coming from Austin Wells. Then the Mets added 2 more in the 5th. That was on, let me think about it here for a second. Why don't I just go to the scoring summary? That would be smart, right? I don't believe that was Pete's home run, was it? Yeah, it was. Pete with his first home run of the game in this one, his 19th of the season to add to the Mets lead. But then the Yankees in the 6th come right back with Frankie Montas. And so this is what I wanted to talk about. Frankie Montas doesn't end up having the most impressive line. It ends up being 5 2/3, 5 hits, 4 earned runs. But let's be real about it. That 6th inning was cruel to Frankie Montas. An infield single that, granted, Francisco Lindor gets 2, flags it down, just barely can't throw the runner out at first. Most shortstops are not even going to get to that ball, let alone make a play on it to first. I still call it an infield single, but it wasn't hard contact or a walk. Then there's a blue pit to left field that Brandon Nimmo slides for and can't make the catch on. And then Cody Bellinger ends up hitting a blooper into left center field to score 2 runs. So I thought, honestly, at that point, I was going to let Frankie Montas continue, finish out the 6th, and if he did that without any more run scoring, I would have even let Frankie Montas start the 7th inning as well. He was only at about 70 pitches at that point with 2 outs in the 5th inning, and with how depleted the Mets bullpen has been, I would have let Frankie Montas keep rolling because, again, look, I get it. The final line on him isn't impressive. 5 2/3, 4 earned runs, but 2 solo shots and then some dinks and dunks in that 6th inning with how we just are shorthanded in the bullpen. I would have let him try to get through that 6th, and depending on how that went, I would have even let him potentially open the 7th inning as well. Instead, they do end up going to, it was what, Chris Stavinsky First, they went to Dickie Lovelady, and then he ends up giving a run up, and they go to Chris Stavinsky then to get the final out of the 7th inning. Then the Mets just explode this game open. Nice pinch hit from Ronnie Mauricio, who looks like he is seeing the ball much better. Hits it up the middle, hustle double. Then Francisco Lindor hits it up the middle. The Yankees doing what they've done the whole entirety of these first 2 games and just kick the ball all over the field. Doesn't matter because it ends up bringing Mauricio home. Lindor able to stretch it into a double on that one. And then Pete Alonso with the big blow after Juan Soto walk, his second bomb of the game, a 3-run no-doubter to left field to just bust this one open, make it 11-5. The Yankees add another in the 8th off of Ryan Stanek, who really did not look good after looking very impressive the other day against Milwaukee. Maybe, and I said this, it just wasn't a big enough moment for him, which is kind of frustrating to think about for major league pitchers, but this guy has pitched in the World Series, high leverage spots his entire career with Houston, with Seattle. For him to come into an 11-6 or 11-5 game at that time, I can understand if the adrenaline wasn't running for him, but Stanek definitely did not look good. But in the end, it does not matter. Soto with the RBI double in the 8th to make it 12-6, and that is your final. Put it in the book. The Mets improved to 52-38. The Phillies do win today, but the Mets keep pace with them and remain a half a game behind them for first place in the National League East standings. Guys, what is your big takeaway from this game? For me, is that we are now seeing what this offense is capable of. We have been screaming and pounding our fists on the table for the first almost 3 months of this season. Why doesn't this offense look the way it should? Why can't they hit with runners in scoring position? Where's Soto? Where's Alonso? Where's Lindor? Where's Nimmo at any given time? And now we are starting to see all of these guys clicking on all cylinders at the same time. And this is what we thought they were capable of. Not 12 runs every single game, but production and nights and games like this, scores like this are realistic for this offense. Scores like yesterday, 7 runs on 3 homers are realistic for this offense. So I am just really happy that we are seeing that right now. Let's go to the chat. I got a lot to catch up on. John Talento, what up, Tony? What up, John? How you doing, man? Thanks for tuning in. I love the Nick logo. How you feeling about the Mike Brown hire? I think it's a step back. Not so sure I like that Mike Brown hire for the Knicks. Red Bear Fox says they'd have to use another reliever to warm up so Diaz didn't have to come in. Exactly. Sandman Games, LGM, believe. You gotta believe, baby. I hate that the Phillies try to steal that from us because Tug pitched for them when they went to the World Series that one year. That's our thing. They even have it written up in their locker room in Phillies colors, and it pisses me off so much. That is a Mets thing. Tug said it for the Mets in 73. Come on. Let's see. French fries. Yeah, I could go for some French fries. Sandman Games. What is up, Sandman? How you doing, guys? If you have not checked out Sandman's channel, he does a great job. He's got his MLB The Show 25. He is in franchise mode with the Mets and looking to take them to the World Series. So go check out his channel. He does a really great job as well. Lane Kerner, do you send down Hayden Sanger? I mean, not for any reasons that are due to him, but simply because it looks like Francisco Alvarez is starting to put it together down in AAA. So I don't know how much longer the plan is to keep Albie in AAA. I would probably just leave him down there until after the All-Star break, and then I would think about giving Alvarez the call in the second half. That would probably be how I would do it. That's just me. Or maybe they just want to bring him back up for the final final road trip where they go to Baltimore and Kansas City. Let him get his feet wet a little bit. See how the things that he's been working on are going at the MLB level. And then he gets a nice little respite again for the All-Star break. So that's another way they could go about it. Fast Von Poker Jamie, what's up, man? Always feels extra good to beat the Yanks. Look, man, I don't want to be like, this is such a great win because it's against the Yankees, because Yankee fans feed off that energy, right? They think that we're little brother if we give them that type of energy. But it's always a little fun when we beat the Yankees. Just a little bit. Just a little extra fun when the Mets beat the Yankees, right? We all feel that way. They know they have a good time time beating us too. They won't ever admit it, but they definitely revel in beating the Mets just like we do in beating the Yankees. So Yankees dropped 6 in a row doing the electric slide. Ooh, backwards though. Ooh, that's not good for the Yankees. Not our problem though, baby. The Mets 4 in a row, keeping pace in first place in the National League East. Haven't seen what the other wild card teams are doing. We do kind of have to keep an eye on that as well. We obviously want to make sure that we keep Milwaukee at arm's distance as well. So I'll take a look at that as well. I don't know if they've actually played yet. Let's see. Sandman Games, LGM, our town, Bronx Bummers. So the Mets swept the 4-game Subway Series last year, and now tomorrow have an opportunity to win 4 of 6 from the Yankees and to sweep them at their lowest point in the season, man. Oh, dude, you just chef's kiss. Imagine that. Imagine giving the Yankees their 7th consecutive loss and sweeping them here at Citi Field, while Juan Soto is having a huge series, while Pete Alonso has a 2 home run game, and Brandon Nimmo with a grand slam. Oh, I love it. Let's see. Explosive diarrhea. Volpe hit Judge today. Yeah, did you guys see that? I'm going to see if I can find the video. So this is after, I think, the first home run from Pete Alonso in the 5th inning. So Judge is coming back into the dugout. And then, you have the guys like throwing the ball to the outfielder to keep in their mitt in the dugout so they have a ball to warm up with in the next half inning. And here's the video of Aaron Judge coming back in. Hold on, let me turn the volume. Do you see this? Look at this. He's throwing the ball to him, and I guess Judge isn't looking for it. He's looking toward the first baseline, and it hits him right in the eye. And he ends up having a bandage right here. I don't know if he needed stitches. Obviously, he stayed in the game, but the Yankees are not firing on all cylinders at all. They are definitely not in lockstep with each other at the moment. Jose Lopez Moya says the Mets sure could have used Harrison Bader. He's hitting well while Taylor's struggling. 2-homer game for Harrison Bader yesterday, I'm pretty sure, out in Minnesota. Yeah, really liked Bader. He got a good contract. David Stearns thought Jose Siri would be a seamless replacement for him. Obviously, that has not worked. Taylor has been really bad. I do think he got robbed of a walk today. Not that we're going to throw him a parade for that, how he's been hitting lately, like down to 210 now on the season. But bad home plate umpire takes a ball that calls it a strike, and it ends up being a strikeout in that at bat. But yeah, Taylor has been terrible. I do wish we still had Harrison Bader, man. Oh my gosh, so badly. Fast, fun poker. Jamie Marte leadoff was a gamble, but it worked today. Marte's led off now a couple times this year, and he has looked pretty solid in those spots. So I'm with it. I think Mendoza has finally found the perfect blend of playing time for Starling Marte to make sure that he stays sharp, but that he's also not being overexposed. So hopefully this is the right mix. This is the right kind of deal that Marte needs to keep hitting the way that he has been hitting. Because, I mean, look at these numbers. All of a sudden, Starling Marte, 259 average, 726 OPS. Yeah, the OPS leaves a little bit to be desired, but this is a bat off your bench. I mean, this is basically what Jesse Winker is supposed to do for them on the other side of that DH platoon along with Marte. So really, really happy with what we've been seeing out of Starling. Let's actually take a look at his numbers over the last 30 games. Here they are. You should be able to see them. Over the last 30 games in 89 at-bats, Starling Marte hitting .303 with a .370 on base percentage, a .427 slug. It's definitely going down, as you see over the last 15 games, last 7 games. It's definitely been trending downward, but over these last 30 overall, Starling Marte has looked really, really good. So I am pumped about that. D-Rails, what's up, man? Tony, what's good? What's up with you, my man? A nice dub for the Mets. Back-to-back series wins, man. 4th of July weekend. I am living my best life, as I'm sure all of you guys are too. Sandman Games, Mets win. Let's go. No negative comments, no excuses. All right, no negative comments, but I do have to point out the Diaz and bullpen management stuff, which we talked about a little bit. Like I said, I would have let Frankie Montas finished that 6th inning. He was at 70 pitches, a couple dinks and dunks to set that whole inning up for the Yankees. You got nobody in your bullpen. You got Dickie Lovelady and Chris Stavinsky pitching for you. You end up having to use Stanek and Edwin Diaz in a 6-run game. Like, come on. Like, am I mad? No, but it's definitely not the best way to piece it all together. Unfortunately, this is what the Mets and Carlos Mendoza have at their disposal right now. They just don't have enough major league arms. So I am begging and pleading for David Stearns to think of something, because we have got to get some legitimate pitchers here. Let's see. Buzz Bass, what's up, man? Love seeing the Yankees melt. Oh my God. This is one of my favorite things after the Mets beat the Yankees, especially when they're in a stretch like this right now. I'm just going to go on Twitter later, and I'm just going to search all of the Yankees tweets, all of the Yankee fan account tweets, and just enjoy it. Just drink their tears. It is one of the best things. It's obviously way better to me that the Mets win, but when they can also beat the Yankees while they're at their lowest, it is just like the greatest thing in the earth. It is so wonderful. Let's see. I'm so blind, guys. Hold on. Before I get to you, Ghost. Oh my God, I got a lot popping off in the chat. I'm trying to keep up, you guys. Let's see. D-Rouse, all the disrespect for Pete Alonso. He showed up like the polar bear, man. Where would we be without Pete Alonso? 20 home runs now on the season. He's up over 70 RBIs at the All-Star break. Pete Alonso on pace for a near 40 home run, 140 RBI season. Give it up, ladies and gentlemen. MVP, Polar Bear Pete, man. I am hoping and praying that Steve Cohen is going to pry open that wallet and find a deal that works to make sure that this guy stays in the orange and blue for the rest of his career. I want it so bad for this guy. Pete has been nothing but a great representative for this organization since he came up in 2019. It was a really bad year last year. I even turned on him to a degree, and a lot of other fans did as well. But without him this year, I don't know where the New York Mets would be. So I am pumped about that. Sandman Games, we just own the Skankies. Yeah, man, it looks like it day by day, inning by inning. Let's see. Roy Batty, what's up? I like me some fried Yanks. Who doesn't, man? Fried Yanks. The only thing better than that are fried pickles. That sounds good for dinner. I might have to do that. I don't know. Let's see. Fast Fun Poker Jamie, Rodon was supposed to be good. Yeah, I mean, I said it on the stream yesterday when we recapped it. He has hit a little bit of a slide here. He has been going backwards over his last couple of starts, and the Mets haven't hit lefties well. So I was a little concerned about this game. We didn't know what we were going to get out of Frankie Montas. First start was good versus the Braves. Last start versus Pittsburgh was terrible. He told Martino he thought he was tipping his pitches in Pittsburgh, and I think that may have been the case because, like I said, I don't think the final line for Frankie Montas is representative of how well he actually pitched. Obviously, the 2 solo homers were a little frustrating. That was one of the things that definitely bugged me in this game. Small, tiny little thing, but 3 different opportunities for shutdown innings for the Mets, and they can't get 1. 2 of them because it was Frankie on the mound. He gives up solo homers, and then one of them was in the inning after Pete's second homer of the game, and Ryan Stanek comes in and gives up a run there. So no shutdown innings. Again, the overmanaging by Carlos Mendoza out of the bullpen. Just 2 tiny little critiques of how this one went. But in the end, you win the first 2 of this series. You're going to have a very, very happy Tony. Let's see. Explosive diarrhea. Is it our offense or the Yanks pitching just bad? Well, I mean, the pitching for them has definitely been taking a hit lately. Obviously, Marcus Stroman started yesterday, and he actually pitched far better than Rodon did today. 6 innings, 3 runs for Stroman yesterday. But that bullpen, I don't know if they've been overworked and they are just yearning for the All-Star break or what. But the Yanks pitching has definitely taken a hit recently. But this is the Mets offense that we all thought they were capable of being. And finally here in the first week of July, we are starting to see it a little bit. So hopefully this is just the beginning of what they're capable of doing now for the remainder of this season. James Lee, imagine if Taylor was hitting. We need Siri or someone. I'm going to just stop you right there, though, because I don't think Siri is going to be the answer to the hitting woes in center field. We know that dude lives below the Mendoza line. He might run into a few and hit 10 to 15, maybe even 20 bombs, but he's going to hit 180. He's going to have an on-base percentage below 300. I was excited about Siri as that platoon center fielder with Taylor, but at this point, with how Taylor is playing, with how Siri looked before fracturing his leg, and now the delayed rehab assignment that he has been on and healing for that leg, the Mets have to go out and get a bona fide, legitimate center fielder. It's that, or you go get a bona fide, legitimate third baseman. Because although Brett Baty makes a really slick play to end this game and throw out Judge, and he had the home run and another base hit yesterday, I simply have not seen enough out of him to feel comfortable going without someone at one of those two positions after the trade deadline. So for me, you either fill the void in the lineup with a legitimate center fielder, could be Byron Buxton, could be Jarren Duran, could be Cedric Mullins, or at third base, and then you have less options. Maybe it's Eugenio Suarez. Ryan McMahon doesn't really tickle me all that much, if I'm being honest. Doesn't ever have a season with an OPS above 800, despite playing his entire career in Denver at Coors Field. So those are how that is how I think the Mets need to go about it at the trade deadline. Oh, and by the way, also add a starting pitcher and probably two relievers. Not a whole lot to do on the list, right? I don't know. Kind of seems like a lot of things the Mets got to do still. John Talento, yeah, I don't love the Mike Brown hiring. Yeah, so if you're a Knicks fan, guys, I'm assuming most of us are here that are into basketball. I did not like the Mike Brown hire at all. I mean, it just feels like another type of basically carbon copy of Tom Thibodeau, except probably even worse than Tom Thibodeau. So I did not like the signing. They thought they were going to have Jason Kidd in their hands, and they totally misunderstood the situation. They totally missed on that one. So frustrating for sure. Ghost of Maiden's Peak, what's up? John, I wanted the Knicks to hire the WNBA coach. Yeah, Don Staley, who is actually the NCAA women's coach for South Carolina, is who you're talking about. That would have been wild, man. I think Knicks fans' heads would have exploded. I'd been kind of open-minded to it, but honestly, if it went bad, Knicks are back to being a laughing stock. So I'm glad we didn't take that much of a risk there. James Lee, see ya, Michael K. Oh my God, dude. That is the other thing I love to do after the Mets beat the Yankees. Go listen to all the Mets home runs and great plays on the Yankees broadcast, whether it's WFAN with Susan Waldman or it's Michael K with, yes, they are so dejected. They all say they don't care about the Mets, but as soon as the Mets do something good, they sound like they are crying, and I love it. I eat it up. It is so good. D-Rails, all the past 10 World Series winners had superior hitting. Pitching matters is a lie. D-Rails, coming from the top rope with some facts. The last 10 World Series winners had elite offenses, and pitching was not their main priority. Does pitching still... Is it still very important in the playoffs? Of course it is, but hitting and out mashing your opponent is what has delivered the last 10 commissioner trophies. There was some crazy stat. I can't think of it off the top of my head. If I do during the stream, I will bring it up, but D-Rails spit an absolute facts. 100% there, bro. Elvis Solano, what's up? That boy Brett Baty has an amazing glove. Hate him or love him, Baty's a big league baseball player. I don't know if I'm ready to call him a big league player just yet. He's got a pretty good glove. There's always a couple head scratching plays from Brett Baty at third base, but lately he's looked much more comfortable there and made some really tremendous plays. So happy to see that out of Brett Baty. Happy to see that he had the homer and the base hit yesterday. Look, man, third base is an open position. It was another hitless day for Mark Vientos. Unfortunately, he got kind of robbed of a hit in this game. He ends up going 0 for 4. The batting average is down to 214. The OPS down to 625 for Mark Vientos. To say it has been a struggle is an absolute understatement. He lined a ball right up the middle that would have been an RBI hit if not for the defensive positioning. They had Chisholm or whoever lined up right there behind the second base bag. It's just been one of those years for Mark, and I am honestly surprised. I was truly convinced Mark Vientos was about to become the future third baseman for the Mets for the next decade, and that is well beyond a shadow of a doubt now at this point. So I don't know if I just used that term correctly in the way I just did, but oh well. Two cats, Mets own the Yankees, Astros own the Yankees, Red Sox own the Yankees, Dodgers own the Yankees. You get a car, you get a car, and you get a car. Man, the Yankees are just not what they think they are. Their fans kind of are starting to come around, but they're always going to be loud and obnoxious when they are winning. But let's be honest, man, this is who the Yankees have been for most of the new millennium. Since 2000, they have won World Series. In 2009, they lost the World Series to the Marlins in 2003, who had a fire sale after that. They get embarrassed in last year's World Series to the point that you have the Dodgers pitcher, whatever his name is, making fun of them on a podcast for how poor fundamentally they were of a team. The Yankees are just not your daddy's Yankees anymore. I love it. Buzz Bass loves seeing the Yankees melt. I already got to that one. Let's see. Jose Lopez Moy, enjoy Pete Alonso for the 2025 season because there's no way in hell that stingy Stearns will re-sign him unless Cohen does it. Here's how I feel about it. Let's take a look at Pete Alonso's stats here right now. I personally have an idea I think that could get Pete Alonso to sign an extension and keep him a Met for the rest of his career, or at least until the twilight of his career. And at that point, if he decides he's going to go elsewhere because he's getting a massive offer, then okay. But hopefully that's not the case. So we know that Pete has an option after this year, and it is pretty much 100% that he is going to be opting out of this contract, considering how this first half has went. And it is possible he totally falls off a cliff in the second half. I pray that is not the case because, of course, I love Pete and that goes bad for the Mets. But I believe Pete will most certainly opt out after this year. It's a $27 million option for 2026. He's 31 years old, or about to be 30. He will be 31 in December. I'm going to tack on 5 more years to the end of this year. So that will keep him locked in at $27 million for this upcoming season in 2026. And then for those next 5 years, I'm going to give him $30 million. And that's pretty much the going rate for a slugger of his caliber at this point. So we're talking 5 times 3, $150 million extra dollars. 5 more years, takes him through his age 36 season. He's got longevity with the Mets, 6 more seasons. I think it's a win-win for both teams. I haven't crunched the numbers in great detail and the average annual value and all that stuff, but I feel like it's a win-win for both sides there. But let me know in the chat, guys, what do you think? Drop some suggestions on how you would re-sign Pete Alonso if you want to re-sign or extend Pete Alonso. Let's see. Roy Batty, why million when it can't be worth billions? What are we talking about here? Tony Uncle Steve will get it done. Goes to Meaden, probably closer to 300 million. I don't think he's getting 300 million. No way. I don't think he's getting even close. I don't even think he's getting 200 million. Like, he's still going to have those same kind of things that teams were saying about him in the offseason of his body is not going to, prove to be something for a long-term career. And he's not a great fielder, although I think Pete, for the most part, is a very, very good fielder. Not great, but very, very good. Made a nice stretch today on that ball from Vientos where he threw it pretty high, and it was a nice stretch by Pete to keep his foot on the bag. Had that nice pick today to end the game on the throw from Beatty. A nice pick earlier in that game on the infield single where Lindor tried to throw him out, so it's not going to get recognized. But we know Pete, best scooper in all of baseball as far as first baseman, but still, teams are going to say he is not going to age well because of his body, because of his strikeouts, all of that stuff. I don't think he's getting more than $150 million tacked on to what he has already with the Mets, which is $27 million. So I'm essentially saying make it a 6-year deal for $175 million. I think Pete, at 31 years old, has to take that contract. I don't think he's getting more than that unless some other team goes bat crap crazy and blows the Mets out of the water. If that's the case and I'm severely misjudging this market for him, then I will gladly up it. But I just feel that is probably where teams are going to look at him and value him for 6 more years at his current age. But that is just my opinion on the matter. Let's see. John Talento, Tony Uncle Steve will get it done. Two cats. The Yankees won the first series because McGill walking 6 Yankee players in 1 innings. Yankees feasting off those stupid walks. Bro, I said it in the stream after that first Subway series in the Bronx. The Yankees did not move me at all. They did not have any impressive wins in that series against the Mets. The first game, Tyler McGill walked 6 dudes, can't even make it out of the 3rd inning. The Mets won game 2, and then game 3, it was a 2-2 game until the 8th inning, and then the Mets bullpen blew up. I don't remember who pitched in that 8th inning, but it was a walk. It was the error from Pete throwing to home plate that opened the door for that inning. So I was like, I walked from that series thinking like, okay, they won 2 out of 3, but they are flexing their chest like they just demolished us, just absolutely whooped our ass. And that was not the case. I feel like the Mets, for the most part, have whooped the Yankees' ass in these 2 games. I get it. Today's game, way closer than it should have been. Yesterday, only a 1-run game. But the Yankees don't look like a fundamentally sound team in the field, on the bases. And outside of Aaron Judge and Cody Bellinger, nobody in that Yankees lineup scares me in the slightest. Jason Dominguez looks okay. Couple home runs yesterday, but today did nothing. So that's just me. Goes to Meaden's peak. We need McGill back soon. Unfortunately, yeah, we do need Tyler McGill, which kind of sucks. But yeah, we need him. Paul Blackburn, not that we want him either, but he is on the injured list. Kodai Senga with his rehab start today. Sean Manaea is also on the way back. They are hoping to have those guys back potentially to start 2 of the games in the Kansas City series next weekend. And guys, I need you to sound off because I have a major life decision to make, but I need the chat's advice. I could go to that Mets Royals series next weekend. Should I pull the trigger? I'm undecided. I can't decide yet. I got a lot of stuff going on. I can make it work. Should I go to that Kansas City Mets series in Kansas City next weekend? Sound off in the chat. Let me know because I am 50-50 on the fence about it. Never been to Kansas City. Obviously never been to Kauffman Stadium. It's going to be a little painful, of course, site of one of the worst Mets moments in my fandom, them losing the 2015 World Series. Plus, the first game of that series is Eric Hosmer bobblehead day. So you know they're going to be playing replays of the 2015 World Series the entire time. But let me know in the chat if I should pull the trigger and go. And I'm going to go with whatever you guys say. If I get overwhelmingly convinced yes to go, then I will do it, and I'll have some fun content from out there in Kansas City for you guys. But let me get back to the chat right here. 2 cats and Stanek walking everybody. Yeah, Stanek walking Judge in an 11-5 game. Dude, throw fastballs. Throw 100. You throw 100. Throw it down the plate, dude. Like, come on, man. Just throw 100. You don't need to be throwing him a 3-2 slider in the dirt. It's Aaron freaking Judge. He's not going to swing at that crap. Challenge him with a fastball. If he takes you deep, okay, it's 11-6, but it's still a 5-run game. But that was a brutal outing for Ryan Stanek for sure. John Talento says, go, Tony. Go to Kansas City. Have fun, bro. Okay. All right. That's 1 vote for yes. Oh, boy. Let's see what the rest of the chat says. Jimmy James C says LFG. What is up, Jimmy James? LFGM indeed. I am pumped about these first 2 wins here. Let's see. Sandman Games, Dr. Melfi. Dr. Melfi. We got a Sopranos reference in here. If Mets don't sign Pete long-term, the King, Cohen, and Stearns need a good nap with a psychologist. So Dr. Melfi might be available. Lorraine Bracco. Have you ever seen Lorraine Bracco in an interview? She's a wacko. She is a weirdo. I have seen her do an interview with the rest of the Sopranos cast, and she looks like the weirdest lady I've ever seen in my life. And the rest of the cast is all kind of like side-eye, like kind of fake laughing because she is just saying some outlandish shit in those interviews. But great movie, or great show though. I've seen The Sopranos like 6 times. Let's see. Joe says trade for Keller and O'Neal Cruz. O'Neal Cruz. Oh man, we have heard he is potentially available at the trade deadline. I don't know if you find a way to make O'Neal Cruz fit on your team for sure, but that is going to be a seriously heavy prospect haul going back to the Pirates for that. I suggested that the Mets go after Mitch Keller many times, more so than an ace, but I am hearing things like it might cost Ronnie Mauricio and, maybe more. I don't know if I'm going that far. If Mitch Keller is going to cost me Ronnie Mauricio, I get the 3 extra years of control of him, but I don't know if I want to go that far. And at that point, I might be going even lower on the totem pole for that veteran innings eater. But I don't know. Maybe I overvalue Ronnie. I am down on him for sure, but I have seen some really nice signs from him over the last week and a half or so. Hitting the ball with more authority, going the opposite way. We know he still has to work on that plate discipline. It might be something that never fixes itself because it was always an issue down in the minor leagues as well. But I like what I have seen out of Ronnie over the last 2 weeks. And to get a guy that is solid in Keller for sure and has control, yes, I just don't know that is where I want to spend my assets. But let's see. Sandman Games, I love David Wright, but Pete's 20 better be up on Citi Field. Oh, it 100% will. If he ends up being, he will, without a doubt, be the all-time Mets home run leader. Yes, 100%. Although the one way it goes sideways is if Pete leaves the Mets and it's not on good terms and he goes and wins something with, say, the Phillies or the Braves, God forbid, or something like that. Then it's possible. It's possible. No, I don't see it going that way at all. I see Pete playing his entire career and retiring as a Met. He is going to hit 400 home runs, all in a Mets uniform, and his number 20 will be hanging in the rafters. So will Francisco Lindor's number 11, and one day maybe even Juan Soto's. Unfortunately, a guy that won't get recognized that has just been a great Met lifer is Brandon Nimmo. With that big grand slam today, Nimmo's is hot. Even his outs are loud, man. He is killing it for this team. Let's see. Jose Lopez Moya for the coming trade deadline. Get a good starter, a reliever, and Jared. You called him Suien, S-U-E-N, but it's Jared Duran. Yes. So I don't know what's going to happen with Jared Duran or the Red Sox. We've talked about it. They are not that far out of the playoff mix in the American League. So I don't know if Boston's going to be sellers or not. And even if they are, Duran has got 2 more years of control. He's having a down season. They're still going to expect a nice return for him. I think it could be a total game changer for this Mets team if they do end up trading for Duran or for Buxton, who I have heard is much more unlikely to be traded because apparently he has a no trade clause and really loves it out in Minnesota. So if it's Duran, I think it could transform this Mets lineup if he plays closer to the way he did in 2023 and 2024 when he was looking like a top 5 center fielder in all of baseball. But we haven't seen that from him this year. The OPS is just barely hovering above 700. So I'd need to see what the return is for Duran. At this point, man, and I can't believe I'm saying it, but if Mark Vientos was included in that trade to try and get it done, of course, along with some prospects, I might have to do it at this point, which I just never would have imagined, man. I'm so disappointed with how Mark Vientos' 2025 is going, man. I did not see this coming. I really thought he had arrived last year after all that he did in the second half and in October. So disappointing for sure. But if that would be a name that helps push it over the finish line, then I might have to consider it for sure. Duran, 23 home runs in 2023, 24 home runs last year, or maybe the other way around. Just really good slugger. He's playing left field right now because they have Rafael Siena or whatever his name out in center, but his natural position is center field. So I would love to have him and see if maybe a change of scenery would do him some well. But let's actually take a look real quick at Jared Duran's numbers. Overall this year, worth a 1.5 WAR. I mean, that is ridiculous. An 8.7 WAR last year for Boston, where he hit 21 homers and had 75 RBIs. I thought he had a lot more homers than 23. Sorry, I misspoke. Only 8, but still was worth a 2.2 WAR in only 102 games. So, I mean, dude can play. He's a baller for sure. But so far this year, Duran in 88 games with just 6 and 42 RBIs in slash line. It's not where it needs to be. 5. His career average is 260, but last 2 years, 295. AVP the last 2 years were 346. and 3 for this year. 13 is down 70 points from last year. The slug down 100. So sure for 2 years of control. If it's right move, I'm back, and we could just about me Kansas City for that next weekend. I know there will be a ton of Met fans in the building. We travel everywhere. I have never been to a Mets game that did not have at least a 30% share of Mets fans, and oftentimes more than that. I mean, the Mets fan just travels so well all over the country, diehard passionates just like you and I. So yeah, I'm thinking I am going to end up pulling the trigger and going to Kansas City for that series next weekend. I am pumped. Let's see. Sandman Games, O'Neal Cruz, the lazy bastard all the way around. All about himself. No drama here, bro. I've never heard that about O'Neal Cruz. Is that the case on him? Is that the story, that he's kind of all full of himself? I've never heard that myself, honestly. He is basically what we are hoping that Ronnie Mauricio could eventually turn into. They profile the same way in terms of their body and everything, and they're just big dudes with a lot of raw power that are fast. Great arms, but I don't know if Ronnie will ever turn into that. But if he did, oh boy. But if O'Neal Cruz has got an attitude issue, I don't know. We don't want any of that in the Mets clubhouse. We already got enough attitude issues with Jeff No, I'm just kidding. Jeff just has little temper tantrums. I don't think he's actually a clubhouse cancer. Jose Lopez, Roy Batty first, though. Nimmo Bearded. Nimmo Bearded has unlocked power in that swing. It is crazy, the power numbers that Nimmo's having. I think the most home runs he's had in his career in a single season was 24, and this year he is already at 17 before the All-Star break. Sorry, check that, 18 before the All-Star break for Brandon Nimmo, including 3 grand slams. I mean, it is crazy what this guy is doing. Guys, I hope the stream is not all bummer out to get this guy. He's like more halfway to his RBI total last year, 92 to 24. Homers. I mean, dude is just an absolute animal. He's already from Brandon so far. Because the streets don't know why I'm sorry we can't see him work because all that's were those early 90s. I guess you'd say the early 2000s were my early memories because I was born in 94. So as well, with the exception, of course, of the National League pennant winning team. But guys, I think the stream is really not cooperating at all. So again, I am really sorry for that. I will have it fixed. See if I can get this to here, maybe, huh? Nope, not really doing anything. All right, real quick, and then we're going to wrap things up. Because this, as you know, it's going to be tomorrow, and opposing them will be Max Fried. So Mets with a chance to get the sweep of the Yankees tomorrow, win the Subway Series outright for the season against them, and potentially get their 5th consecutive W for daily Mets content, post-game tuning in, clicking on this video, and watching. Let's go Mets. I am Tony Metro. Until next time, stay true to the orange and blue.